Hey you guys, I'm just going to do a quick reaction / review of the 4th episode of the Carrie Diaries. Alyssa and I get together every week and we watch this show, but since we can't watch it live and we watch it on the internet, we end up watching it just at random times throughout the week. So we're going to be posting recaps, but I'm not sure what day. I feel like we're going to try to post them every Monday so that if you want to watch these, you'll be ready for the next episode before it airs. But, this is probably going to have spoilers for the first 4 episodes of the show, so if you haven't watched it and you hate spoilers, don't watch this video, save it, and come back later. This was the Halloween episode, which was kind of weird considering it aired in February, so I feel like that's probably because the pilot didn't get picked up the first time around, and they had filmed some episodes, or filmed the story arc, and they just have to fit that in even though it doesn't necessarily fit with our current yearly timeline. But, whatevs. It ended up being exciting nonetheless. So, for a little backstory, Carrie has 3 really good friends, which makes up their core 4 group, and that is Maggie, her boyfriend, and then ex-boyfriend Walt, and Mouse. So, the 4 of them are kind of like the high school version of her group of friends from Sex and the City, which I never watched, so anything I say about Sex and the City that's not true, I apologize for in advance, because I'm just speaking from what I know from the internet, which is not a lot. But Carrie had a brief little fling with a boy named Sebastian from her school, who she met over the summer, and they had like a makeout session at the pool where they both go, and then her dad was like, "You stay away from that Sebastian kid," and Carrie was like, "You can't tell me what to do, Daddy." And he was like, "You're going to stay away from him, but I'm not going to tell you any information about why you have to stay away from him." So Carrie does the responsible thing and snoops through her dad's private legal files to find his file on Sebastian Kidd, finds out that Sebastian had an affair with his art history teacher at his previous school, which led to his expulsion. And then Carrie was like, "Oh my gosh, I don't know what to do about the fact that my boyfriend is super experienced and like was doing the deed with his high school history or art history teacher." And she goes to her group of friends and is like, "Oh my gosh, what am I going to do? My boyfriend totally did his art history teacher." And then, after she does all of that, which was totally crossing a boundary, she goes back to Sebastian and was like, "Hey, my dad says I can't see you, but he wouldn't tell me why, so I looked through all of his private legal files, and I found out about your affair with your art history teacher, but I'm totally cool with it because I talked to my friends and they said it's no big deal." At which point Sebastian was kind of like, "Whoa there, that's a little bit too much. You should not have shared my personal private information with your friends, and you shouldn't even know that information because I didn't tell you and it wasn't your place to find out about it. So I'm going to have to break this off." Carrie is devastated. And she opens with a voiceover, which again I feel like is a nice continuity thing from the show Sex and the City and is a common theme. But she opens when Sebastian walks down the hall of the high school by saying, "The boy who broke my heart," which again, I thought was super dramatic considering they went on like 2 clandestine dates and had like 4 makeout sessions. And she was grounded for the entirety of their relationship. So, in typical teenage fashion, Carrie has dubbed him the boy who broke her heart. So, she and the fabulous foursome if you count her, meet up at their local cafe, diner thing, and they're like totally bashing Sebastian, and then Walt, who is probably my favorite character on this show, and I'm so excited about his storyline, is kind of like, "Hey, Carrie, remember that time that you totally violated his privacy and went through your dad's legal files and then told all of your friends about his past? Yeah, that wasn't so cool. I don't see how Sebastian is the bad guy here." Which is such a valid point. I understand Carrie's curiosity, and I understand why she wanted to know what was going on, but she didn't have any right to, A, violate her dad's trust in her, and B, tell all of her friends about Sebastian's past. That was not her place to do. Which I understand, she's a teenager and she's going to make mistakes, but I'm totally with Walt on this one. Sebastian is not the bad guy. So Larissa, who is the worst mentor / role model ever, she works for a fashion magazine whose name I didn't write down, so I've got a lot of information for you guys. And she meets Carrie on her first day at her internship with her dad's friends, business, and they become like BFFs, and somehow Larissa doesn't understand that Carrie is a 16-year-old child, and she thinks that she is like a businesswoman in New York City. So Larissa is clearly not in touch with reality. However, she's Martha Jones from Doctor Who, so I am a fan already. Even though, like I said, she is a terrible, terrible role model for 16-year-old girls. But Larissa is throwing a party in the city at a club, which Carrie can always magically get into, and she always can magically take her friends to. So Carrie and Walt are going to the party in the city on Halloween, dressed as Princess Diana and Prince Charles, and it was amazing. I loved their costumes, and I thought that they were super awesome, and 2 thumbs up to the costume. Two thumbs up to the costume department, because I thought that they were like spot on and fantastic. And also, I feel like that was probably a really popular costume at this time period, because it was right after they got married. So, of course, they come in and they are way overdressed for this party because, you know, it's a grown-up party, so most people are just like a sexy maid or a sexy doctor or a sexy cat or what have you. Male, female, whatevs. They're all basically scantily clad. And Larissa is passing out ecstasy. I actually wrote down, bleeping bleep, Larissa is handing out ecstasy. I don't know if you can read it. I wrote it right there. I was really, really upset, and it really bothered me. But when they walk in, it's exactly like the scene when they walked into that party reminded me exactly of Lindsay Lohan in Mean Girls, where she is the like ex-wife and she comes in like the zombie bride. It was the same exact reaction from the crowd. It was kind of hilarious. So 2 thumbs up. So Larissa passes them out ecstasy. Carrie Bradshaw does the only smart thing I see this episode and drops hers on the floor, but Walt takes it because that's what you do when you're a small kid from New Jersey and you are at a big party. You take ecstasy. Never take ecstasy. I've never taken ecstasy. It terrifies me. This is a public service announcement. Do not take ecstasy or any other kind of illegal drug because it probably will not be good. As evidenced by Larissa's spiraling down into doom during this episode. She takes a cocktail of ecstasy, champagne, and acid. LSD. She takes acid at this party, and then she's just completely jacked up, and Carrie Bradshaw's like, WTH, am I going to do with my friend who, like, so, yeah, she just abandons Walt because she's having to take care of a passed out Larissa who's trying to jump off of the top of the building because she thinks she's a bird. It was a disaster. I feel like this was a really good storyline, though, because it was like, we could paint, like, I know the 80s were a time of, like, expression and experimentation, and people tried every kind of drug imaginable, and we didn't necessarily know the things that we know in 2012, 2013, about gratuitous drug use. But I'm just saying, like, I feel like they painted it really well because Larissa was jacked all up. Carrie Bradshaw has to take care of her. She passes out, Larissa does, and then some guy, Carrie comes back in, and some random guy is, like, trying to get with Larissa, and he's like, oh, she's totally into it. And Carrie was like, she's mumbling incoherently. She's not into that. That's not being into something. Wrong answer. So while Larissa is like spiraling into doom and Carrie Bradshaw is trying her best to stop her, Walt meets this super attractive guy who writes for the same Interview magazine, maybe? Interview? Indigo? It's something like with an I. I don't remember the name of that magazine for love nor money. I'll tell you when I post my next video what it was, though. But he writes a column, and Walt is talking to him and flirting with him. Walt's sexuality is one of my favorite themes in this whole show so far, because he clearly doesn't know how to define himself, and he hasn't found himself yet, and he struggles with his relationship with Maggie, and that's why they break up. But then he meets this really cute guy, and they're kind of flirty, and then cute guy kisses him, and Walt completely freaks out and runs away because, again, he also took ecstasy and has no idea what's going on. So he's just like running through New York City, pell-mell, no idea what's going on. So Carrie has to leave Larissa to go find Walt, and basically Carrie's Halloween ends up being chasing around other people who are high on drugs, which I think is the worst Halloween ever. While they're at this party, Mouse and Maggie decide to go to the party Sebastian is throwing to do some reconnaissance work and spy on him and see what's going on for Carrie. Mouse is totally against this idea, but Maggie's like, oh, it'll be great. While they're there, Mouse smokes pot. I'm like, is everyone in this TV show doing drugs right now? And I actually said that to Alyssa. I was like, could any more people be taking illegal drugs right now? So while Mouse is smoking pot, Maggie's police officer boyfriend, which is a backstory I didn't explain, while Walt and Maggie were dating, Walt wouldn't sleep with Maggie. So Maggie got her kicks with this police officer who works, her dad's the sheriff, or the chief of police, something. He's the head of the police department. And so she's hooking up with this random police officer guy. And then he shows up at Sebastian's party to bust them. And he's like, Maggie, you gotta do something. So Maggie basically blackmails him and is like, if you bust all my friends, I'm gonna tell my dad that we were sleeping together and you're gonna lose your job. So he leaves without busting anybody, and then the party breaks up. And basically that was the end of the episode. Sebastian takes a Mouse is completely stoned, so he takes her home, and Carrie's like, maybe he's not such a bad guy after all. No, Carrie, he's not a bad guy. You went through his legal files, and you told all of your friends about mistakes he had made in his past without even talking to him. Sebastian is not the bad guy for breaking up with you. I know it hurt your feelings, and I know it upset you, but Sebastian is really not the bad guy. I'm totally Team Sebastian in this Sebastian Bradshaw thing. But this was not really quick, and I don't know if it was any good. If you guys liked it, let us know. If you hated it, let us know. If you hate this lighting, you don't have to tell me, because I hate this lighting too. I'm going to have to film before it gets dark, I guess, because it's crazy. Anyway, I hope you guys are having a great day, and Alyssa, we'll see you next week with the episode 5 recap. Bye!